Hey guys, it's Wanda from Crazy Days, and today we're going to talk about empty shelves. As a homesteader, what do you do? Guys, you can see I have spaces all in here that's empty. Everywhere. This is not the only place I have food. As a homesteader, you should have your food in a couple of different places. We do have a food cellar that we keep a lot of our stored goods in because it is underground, and it does keep it safe and reasonable. We do have a problem with humidity here, but it's not extreme in our cellar. So when you see empty shelves like this as a homesteader, and it is April, you're not looking at gardening you're starting your garden, right? So you're not going to be harvesting or canning your produce for at least a couple of months. Our first things that we usually harvest is English peas and green beans, which will be in May. This is the 1st of April. So I have no green beans and I have a few English peas. That's all I got left. Squash. We've got some squash blooming. So squash will come in, but I got a couple of those. Down here, this was turkey and chicken. Up here was more ground meat. Here was sweet potatoes. These two right here both had sweet potatoes, and I put some canned goods up there that I wanted to save, but these two are usually full of sweet potatoes. Look, I got 3 jars. Y'all know we don't harvest sweet potatoes until, midsummer. So what do? I have the cellar, and we're going to go down and I'm going to show you a few things about the cellar right quick. But as a homesteader, you don't want to get to this point in April. You want to plan how much food you need for your family for a year. You want to try and plant more than that. We get a lot of people say, how come you plant so much? Why do you always do that? Well, we overplant. You never know when you're going to have a storm, bugs. The plant just may not produce. You may plant 5 tomato plants and only 1 of them produce. Something may happen to all 4 of the others. Overplant. If you think you need 5, plant 10. If you get an abundance, can them. If you get an overabundance, give them to your family, your friends, your neighbors, whoever. But overplant. Number 1 rule of knowing what to have and not having empty shelves in April. Danny and I try to figure how many jars of each thing we will want for the year. For example, pears. Now, we like pears fresh. When they come in, we eat a lot of pears fresh. I make pear salad. We have all kinds of stuff fresh. But when they come in, there's so many on the trees usually that we have to can some. And I can probably 50 plus jars. And the reason behind that is I use canned pears in a pear salad with carrots all through the winter. And when we have carrots, fresh carrots, I do a pear salad. Then we just like to eat them. You can put them in the smoothies. You can grind them babies up. You can make a cake, a pie. You can use pears. Anywhere you can use apples. So when somebody tells you they don't have apples, use pears. Easy peasy. But like I said, we know our trees produce abundantly. Our trees are probably 20 years old, but we've planted new trees. Another thing, don't plant just one pear tree. It may or may not produce. We have multiple trees. Danny's had 3 back here for several years. One year, 2 of them grew and produced abundantly. One of them in the middle didn't produce anything. The next year, the one in the middle did great. The other 2 did really well. So you never know which one's going to produce, which one's not going to produce. And as the weather hits our bigger trees, we want younger trees coming up. So we planted new trees this past year, so we have more pear trees. So rotating out your crop of fruit trees is important too. Berries, figs, we have apples. We just have a lot of abundance. We have a lot of berries. I pick berries all year. I do jams and jellies. I have a supply of those. If you need a sweet, and in this time you're going to need a sweet. There's not going to be a bunch of candy bars and ice cream and junk. What do? Your sweet should be your jams and jellies. It always was in the old days. It's going to go back to it now. Any way you can make a jam and jelly and stash it on your shelf, that's what you need to do. Danny and I eat a lot of green beans. We overplant green beans usually, and we harvest and put up sometimes 125 to 150 jars. Now last year we did not can that many. We were in a lot of building processes and stuff, but I had several hundred jars already from a couple of years back. We overproduced about 3 years straight in a row. So I wasn't out and I wasn't worried about running out. All right, I'm making a note to myself so when I get down there I can look back at this video. I need about 3 jars of peas, about 9 jars of potatoes, about 9 of carrots, probably 9 of English peas. We're going to fill an area down here, a good area with green beans, so we're going to do about 12 green and yellow wax beans. Then I need sweet potatoes, so at least 12 sweet potatoes. We need about 4 jars of salsa. And we need about 4 jars of pears. The first thing I do when I come down to the cellar is I grab a box. This is a quart box. I have a supply of them down here, and I will fill this box with the things that I need upstairs. I have a bunch of sweet potatoes up there. All those are coming off that shelf first. And this is what I have left. So it is April. I'm taking 12 to the house. I have about 12 left. Let's see. Yeah, about 12 left. So that'll take us through May, and that's about the time we start harvesting sweet potatoes. End of May, 1st of June. We have some fresh that was gifted us. So yeah, guys, we'll make it with sweet potatoes to harvest season. So potatoes is something else I need to take up. I have some with the peelings and some without. We will just take up a supply of potatoes. Carrots is another thing I needed, so we're going to grab some of these and put them in a box. We just need a pint box for these on the middle shelf here. Green beans. We need about a dozen, so we're going to clean this jar or this shelf off since I need the oldest ones first. I also did some potatoes and green beans that I might take a couple more of those up, but I said I was taking some Cherokee yellow wax beans, so we're going to take some of these also. Our pear trees are just starting to bud out, so the pears usually make it season to season, and we're going to take a few of these up. We're going to grab maybe 3 of the salsa that we have here, and a couple of the just tomato paste like that we made here, and a few of the peas to add to my pea shelf. It was cold in the cellar, so they're all adjusting to the temperature, but I think I got all the things on my grocery list. We're going to take them in, fill the shelves, and talk about a few things you have to look for when you store things in a humid area like we do in the South. One thing I found in my pears, and it was only these 2 jars, and I'm not sure why, but these are Atlas jars. They're made a little different from regular jars, and I used ball lids, and it's only a year old, and you see both of them have something growing. So the chickens will enjoy these too. It's not wasted, it is chicken food, but it is disheartening if you only put up a dozen jars and part of them fail on you. That's why we put up probably close to 100 jars, 75 to 100 jars of pears, in case we have a couple go bad. But again, the chickens get them. Before I went outside, I rearranged everything and just made sure everything was to the front that was older. Everything that's alike is alike. I don't like a shelf that's all mixed up. Now, this is what I just brought in on our grocery haul, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I made 5 trips. It is tiring having to go up and down and around, and I use the Ranger. I have 3 steps to the cellar now, which it makes it a lot easier than the whole flight of steps. And I have 3 steps to my house. So 6 steps as compared to I used to do about a flight and a half of stairs. So it makes life easier. I just unloaded those 5 boxes and look at the space I still have. We're going to go back, get more green and yellow beans, and I'll probably make one of these rose green beans and the other yellow beans. That way they're all filled and I won't have to go for about 2 months to the grocery store again. I will finish out the pears. We've got our figs, spaghetti squash, peanuts, and yes, that is boiled peanuts, peaches, jams, and jellies, apples. We've got broth, butter, lard, some stew, and different types of meat here. Just, I think that's beef. All this is ham, and we have some beans and some greens there. On this side is some more ham, chicken, ground beef. We're fixing to be filling that up shortly with a lot more. The salsa, I still have room, so I can go get more English peas and salsa. The sweet potatoes and the carrots, I think I'll go fill out half and half and finish this shelf out. And a few potatoes here to finish out this cabinet. So, yeah, it's hot, I'm tired, it's sticky. I'll go get about 5 more boxes and finish filling this out in a little bit. All right, guys, it is hot and humid today, 80 degrees, the humidity level's at 90%, and I'm sweating up a storm. In the cellar, it's about 60 degrees. Nice, cool, feels great. Since we decided to put a building over the top of it, it has helped tremendously to keep the coolness underground where it's supposed to be. All right, I showed you one of the things outside was the mildew in my pears. Danny and I have been canning pears for 10 years, and he's canned long before that and hardly ever finds anything in our jars. And that was 2 jars, and both of them were Atlas, which I usually don't use Atlas, but I mean, I'm not saying it's the jar, but I didn't find anything else. So you have to, number one, check your produce. Even though it's in jars, don't think it won't ruin. Always, when you open a jar, smell it, look all around, don't shake it, because lots of times anything that's growing will be at the top where the air is. So you want to pick it up and examine. And like with the pears, I saw something. So the chickens get it, be safe. If it smells funky, if the carrots don't smell like carrots, feed them to the pigs or the chickens or whatever. But now, my carrots look great, but this is the issue. Can you see that rust? In the humidity, our tops will start to rust. So I look, now this was done in 20. It's already rusting. So you want to check your jars for that. You want to make sure that if you have a jar with rust, you put it to the front, you use it first. You check all that when you go to your cellar, or even if this is all you have, you check it at least once a month. Go through things and make sure there's nothing going bad. Just make sure there's nothing going bad on your shelves. Canned goods can go bad. And in this day and time, they make some crappy lids. I've had quite a few bad lids over the years. So we stick with ball usually. Now I've got 4 jar lids, and they seem to be doing okay, but I've not canned tremendously. So we're going to be trying those this summer a lot. So how can you fill your shelves if they're empty? Number one, you're going to start canning. You're going to find you something to can. Don't let your shelves get to the point that I did earlier, that they're bare. The only reason I let mine get to that point is I knew I had stuff down in my cellar. So my grocery haul is to go to my cellar and replenish my pantry. If the pantry's all you have and it gets to that point that mine was at to start with, then you're in trouble if you're not canning at that point. Now, how do you fill up a pantry like this? Danny and I have been at this for years. This didn't happen overnight, and it will not happen overnight for you unless you have a lot of money, a lot of jars, and a lot of time. You can what you can when you can. You buy up things on sale. I looked through the sale paper that came the other day. They had carrots on sale. Run to town. Don't buy a pound of carrots. Go get you 20 pounds of carrots. Come home and can you some jars and put them on your shelf. They had potatoes on sale. Now, I do not like canning potatoes out of town, that you buy in town. But if you are not growing potatoes, I'd be canning some potatoes. They had them 2 bags for $5 or something like that. I don't know what size bags they were. Go get you a bunch of those bags, come home, peel them. Do not can. I got some that's got peelings, but that's mine that I raised. There's no chemicals on mine. I can mine in jars the first week that they come out of the dirt. If after the first week, I don't leave the peelings on, I take them off. So if you're going to buy them in town, take the peelings off. Take any bad spots off. Put them in jars, can them, put them on your shelf. Any fruits, if you find apples on sale cheap, buy them up. Can them in slices, can them in applesauce, whatever it takes. Just can them. Look for those sales. That's what I would do if I did not have a garden, if I did not have fruit trees, things like that. While it's still available, go to the store today. Get your sale papers and look and see if you have to hit 4 stores. Buy what you can, put it in your fridge, start canning. Can. Dehydrate. Dehydrate's a good way for like apples and stuff. I'm not a dehydrating person. I don't like dehydrated foods that much. But if that's all you have, dehydrate. I like my freeze dryer. Jan from Not a Real Farm in Canada, she is just blowing it out of the water with her freeze dryer. She got hers a few months after I did, and she has went to town every time there's a sale, and she buys up stuff and she's throwing it in the freeze dryer. And she's packaging it up, and y'all, it's doable. If you don't own a freeze dryer, that just didn't pertain to you. But if you have a freeze dryer and you don't have stuff outside in your yard growing in your garden, then head to town. Buy up some of this stuff and put it in the freeze dryer, freeze dry it, and stash it till you can grow. But with your shelves empty, you got to start canning. Meat, catch it on sale. Pack up, put it in the jars and can it. It's great to have this broth like I have and the meat to make rice. Buy up rice. McCaskill Family Farms in Missouri. We bought rice, the basmati, in a 25-pound bag. You can get it in smaller quantities. You can buy it in, I think, bigger quantities if you wanted it. But a 25-pound bag is all I can handle. It's more than I can handle. So you want to break that up and stash it in a different way. But no, basmati does not last as long as that cheap white rice. If you got cheap white rice and you got some jars of meat, you got a meal. And some broth or water, whatever. If I'm going to make soup, I grab meat and a broth. I grab salsa. Then I grab the beans, carrots, potatoes, all that stuff. Then I look in the refrigerator. If there's anything in my refrigerator that's been in there for a couple of days, any kind of meats, veggies, or anything like that, that there's just a little of, dump it in that soup. Y'all, you talking about good. Now, I have a stash of bacon grease. I don't know what y'all call it, bacon drippings, whatever, leftover bacon stuff. I add a spoonful of that to my soups. I add it to my veggies. we have garlic in the field, and I have garlic in a bowl. So when I want garlic, I'm mincing some garlic. If I want something ahead of time, I take a stick of butter, melt it down some, I mince a whole bunch of garlics in it, and then I pour it back in a container. And as we want garlic butter, I just spoon it out and add it to the green beans, or put it on bread, or whatever you want to do. Add it to a steak. It's great. So you can make your own quick garlic butter. But guys, there's so much y'all can do. You don't have to just sit there and watch videos all day. If that's all you're doing, you better get busy. The way things are going, these empty shelves are going to continue to be empty. You got to make an effort. If you don't make an effort, you can't blame nobody but yourself. If Danny and I sat here all day and didn't do anything, we'd never have these shelves full of food. It takes years to collect up. Each year we would do more than 1 year, a year and a half, to get the next year, a year and a half, year 3 years up. Easy peasy if you'll do it. But you've got to be religious. You've got to keep canning, or whatever method you like. Just know that you got to do something. Fill these shelves. We don't want to see empty shelves. Nobody wants to see the empty shelves. And if you're dependent on a grocery store, then you better be going now, getting what you want, because they may not be there next week. Just keep checking. Keep picking up the sales as long as it's available. Do it, and do it now, guys. Fill up them empty shelves. Thank you, guys, from Crazy Days.